Alright, so here we've got last week's project. The drift came out pretty good, but the hatchet face here really didn't do well. I'd scarfed this in and welded the high carbon piece into the end there, but I made a tactical mistake in doing so. Really, these needs to be forged from the handle side out to the tip and not from the tip in, which is what you see me doing here. That weld took pretty good, wasn't a problem, but there was so much scale by the time I started trying to work back up the hatchet form that I never could get it to weld properly. The high carbon steel also shouldn't be inserted before you try to do your spreading of the face, which is the other mistake that's being made here. Is I'll come back later in this video, I think I'll show you me spreading that face out so it looks more like an axe. And the problem is that the high carbon steel just doesn't move at the same speed as the Damascus, as the pattern welded stuff. So you can see me here discovering the error of my ways. Alright, and here we're going to see some of the attempt at spreading that face with the high carbon steel in there. It just, it really didn't work very well. And you can see it swelling out at the rear end of the high carbon. Just didn't do what I wanted to do. So let's fast forward to today. Trying to be very deliberate with hammer blows here and not cause any more deformation than I have to. That looks pretty good. This side. Down about as fine a tip as I want to get. Great. Flip it around and work on the other side. Wow, it's getting colder. So these heats are pretty productive and they're very fast. It heats up quickly in the forge. You can hear me getting on the gas and getting off the gas. But you can also see they cool very quickly when they're on the anvil. So I'm trying to keep them as much as I can up off the anvil and having the hammer smashed down onto them to do the work. But it goes pretty quick. So I let this one run long without the local sound just so you could see how fast we were back out of the forge. And here we're just trying to get rid of some scale. Hate hammering scale back into the piece. It just kind of makes things weird when you're trying to get down to the final surface of the metal you want.
looking at is in this area I've got some dents that I brought in from the drawing end on the hammer here. I'm trying to make sure I don't have to do any more grinding than I really need to. Just a few more seconds here. Save a little work there. I think that's close enough. But the center, I'm going to go back with the flatter in here one more time. Hotter than I wanted.
Alright, so here we're cutting the piece of 01 tool steel that we're going to use as the insert piece, the center in the laminate of the Damascus that's folded over.
Alright, so what I've got now is I've got my piece of 01 tool steel cut off, and he's going to be about from about there out. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is flare this end. I'll do that without removing any material or grinding down that bevel like I did on the previous piece, because really I'm looking to get as much of that as possible in the meat of the axe. Not sure how much grinding I'll do. Obviously at some point I'll either have to forge this out. Probably should have done that. That would have been fun. Anyway, I'm going to do this end and see how flared I can get it to match up to this piece. Ideally, we'd be coming out, continuing this curve on both sides, but I'm not sure how much flare I can get. We'll find out. I'm going to try to stick a little handle on this thing because it's laying flat and forged, and that'll make it hard to pick up and aggravating. I've had a lot of caffeine today. This could go bad. Trying to blow it up. See how it's peeking out? I'm just going to go back and forth, alternating sides. You can see if you do that, when I'm drawing this side out using the smaller edge of the hammer, this side actually gets flattened a little bit, so there's no point going back necessarily and using the rounded, slightly flat side of the hammer to try to get rid of those marks, because when you're working the other side, you're getting rid of those marks anyway. So I just need to remember to keep flipping sides. Okay, I think that's sufficient for what we're going for here. Now, what I've got to do now is set this aside in some, well, it's like cat litter, but it's not. Some of the stuff in cat litter is made out of it. It's it just lets this cool very slowly instead of all at once. It's pretty chill already, but I like to give it a little while to cool down so that it doesn't harden too much. Then we'll check and see if that's the case, and if it's not hard at that point, we'll be going on to the grinder to grind away the scalloped edges that we're not keeping, and we'll end up with just the spine and the curves going out to the blade tip, and that will get put in between the folded over bow tie that's the rest of the axe head.